Well, yeah. Yesterday happened, and honestly, I am still trying to wrap my head around the events of the two-part finale, Wish World and the Reality War. So I'm kind of going to be doing a review on both of them because I didn't do a review for Wish World last week, and I'm just going to be compiling them both together anyway. Because I just thought, because what happened last season, where the Legend of Ruby Sunday was completely set up similar to Wish World, and then a lot of the payoff was in, well, I'll say payoff was in the Empire of Death, and it was kind of the same here with the Reality War. But this is going to be a little bit more of a rant as well, whilst I'm going to be talking about things I enjoyed, but also didn't enjoy as well, and why I generally think this finale just didn't work for me. I'm going to be completely honest. And this is coming from someone that has pretty much enjoyed this era. For the most part, I've really enjoyed Ncuti's characterization of the Doctor. You know, despite some criticisms, I have overall enjoyed his acting. I've enjoyed Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday, Verida Sethu as Belinda Chandra. You know, the stuff with Unit as well has been absolutely fantastic. And I've enjoyed the visuals, all of that cool stuff. So yeah, I guess I am kind of like a 15th Doctor fan. But that finale, and obviously the shock regeneration, whilst it was, well, I mean, it was leaked, but for someone in the general audience, I'll be like, oh, okay, wow, that's really caught me off guard, because normally there's announcements. But there was just way too much going on. I generally don't know what the purpose of these two episodes were. I'll be completely honest. Because a little story arc that's been happening now since the Church on Ruby Road is the mystery of Mrs. Flood. And Mrs. Flood turns out to be the Rani that was revealed in the Interstellar Song Contest. And then the Rani bi-regenerated. The Rani was then included in Wish World, which was interesting, I guess. You know, there's a lot of setup there with the Rani schemes and stuff. The two Ranis working with Conrad to create a Wish World. And then it turns out their scheme is to bring back Omega, another classic Who villain. And then we don't actually see too much of Omega in the Reality War, and he's easily defeated by the Doctor. What? And there's still like near enough half an hour runtime left. Like, what's actually going on here? My issue with this finale is that there's a lot of setup, but the payoff isn't worth it, in my opinion. Like, literally, Omega is built up to be this threat within, well, in the last couple of minutes of Wish World, and then the Reality War begins, and then he's finally introduced. And don't get me wrong, okay, the design was not for me personally, but I can kind of see why they did that, you know, to make him a CGI monster, and I can understand from story purposes why they've done that. But he's just easily defeated like that. You know, the Doctor fires the Time Vindicator at him, and he's put back in his box. Archie Punjabi's the Rani is completely wasted overall in this finale. It's been nice to see her, you know, make some snarky comments and to tease the Doctor and stuff. But then she's just eaten by Omega before he's defeated. And then Mrs. Flood, who is also the Rani, disappears. And I'm just like, what? So genuinely, when I'm watching this finale, and bearing in mind, obviously I watched both parts in the cinema as well yesterday, and I was just thinking, and I've rewatched it as well today before making this video, what was the purpose of building up that threat? Because it's easily resolved through, don't get me wrong, it was an epic fight scene with Unit going against the Bone Beasts and stuff, but I feel like the epic visuals and stuff with this era kind of overrides the storytelling. And the storytelling, in my opinion, is a little bit too basic. And it's bringing back older elements, which, don't get me wrong, I love it when classic Who villains return. But I feel like they're not explained enough to be for why they're returning. Like, genuinely, it's like, oh yeah, here's Omega, he's the first Time Lord, there you go, boom. But, like, where was the build-up? Omega, why? And the Rani as well. The Rani is an evil scientist, which is, to be fair, kind of touched upon in the Wish World and sort of Reality War. But the characterization of Mrs. Flood before the reveal wouldn't have really suited the Rani. I thought she was going to be like a harbinger to a god or something, personally, with the whole fourth wall breaking, which is never explained either. So, again, another thing that just kind of falls on its face with this finale. And then there's the obvious reshoots, because there were reshoots in February. And I know a lot of the stuff leading to the regeneration, the house scenes, were definitely part of that reshoot. And I'm guessing, even though it said officially that the 2-season thing was always the plan, I imagine there might have been like the case for like another special maybe where there would have been a regeneration. But I don't know, does that whole like last 20 minutes or so of the episode just felt completely off to me, didn't really fit with the story at all. And then even the final sequence, which still doesn't sit right with me. Don't get me wrong, I think Billie Piper is an amazing actress, but I also do feel like Doctor Who is relying too much on its past right now to create shock value, to try and win over general audiences or audience members that used to watch Doctor Who back in its prime, which, let's be honest, Doctor Who is way past its prime now. Not saying that it's awful, it's bad, it's irredeemable, because I know there are people out there that think it. I personally don't. But Doctor Who is never going to be back in that golden age, whether you like it or not. But I do feel like, because of the way TV shows are made these days, especially legacy TV shows, obviously bringing back big villains, like Marvel bringing back, Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Doctor Who's basically kind of done that twice. David Tennant back as another Doctor. Billie Piper back as a Doctor of sorts. And I'm just kind of just sat here just like, why? Doctor Who's kind of stuck in that loop. But it's doing it at the sacrifice of the story. Or it's going to be reusing potential old story beats, which just... yeah. It does kind of wear me down completely, to be honest. And I just feel like overall this finale's kind of suffered from it. Whilst I do think I generally enjoyed like a lot of the setup, I like the whole WandaVision-esque stuff. I just didn't like the whole payoff. Like the time hotel was the key to bringing back everything to normal of sorts. Just didn't really sit well with me, and I just felt like it was just kind of rushed. I would have liked it if that whole feature length runtime accommodated Omega and the rest of the elements that were introduced in this episode, and then we had like maybe a Christmas special that was dedicated to Ncuti's departure, because it just felt a little bit rushed. Maybe this episode could have ended with the Doctor going off to find Poppy, and then we could have had a Christmas special with Ncuti being reunited with Susan, perhaps, and then that leads to a regeneration. And then, hey, if they wanted to regenerate into Billie Piper, they could have done it then. But, yeah, I don't know. And then, obviously, we've had no confirmation as of yet. I know it's still under 24 hours at the time of this video being recorded that this episode aired, but we still had no confirmation of a third season, so we don't know what's happening. For all we know, that could have been the last scene of Doctor Who ever. I mean, I imagine there will be a recommissioning. There was some murmurings from the Mirror, wasn't there? So, but yeah, overall, that finale wasn't for me, and I'm gonna put the score for both episodes just as a roundup. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Wishworld is where I enjoyed a fair bit of that. Obviously, again, I love the WandaVision-esque stuff and kind of, like the build-up I thought was interesting. And obviously, I love the dynamic of the two Ranis and stuff. And the visuals across both episodes were fantastic. Soundtrack, it was epic. I love the Doctor riding through London on that little flying scooter thing. But yeah, the payoff weren't for me. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video here. If you are new around here, please click that like button and subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now.